The film opens with an ancient Hindu myth. The gods and evil forces churn the cosmic ocean in search of the elixir of immortality. To prevent it from falling into the wrong hands, Lord Vishnu takes on the form of Mohini, the most beautiful woman in the universe. Her beauty captivates both gods and demons alike, even leaving Lord Brahma mesmerized. Inspired to create a woman superior to Mohini, Brahma forms Aalia and entrusts her upbringing to the wise sage Gautama Maharshi. Under his guidance, Aalia acquires immense knowledge and ultimately becomes the most beautiful woman in the universe. As she matures, Brahma presents Aalia before him, and Gautama suggests that she be given a suitable groom. Finding no better match, Brahma decides that she should marry Gautama. Despite her marriage, many gods and men continue to desire her, with Lord Indra being the most consumed by lust. Seizing an opportunity when Brahma and Gautama leave for a ritual bath, Indra disguises himself as Gautama and deceives Aalia with his physical presence. Upon returning, Gautama discovers the truth and, enraged, curses both Indra and Aalia. The curse strips Aalia of her divine beauty, transforming her into a lifeless stone. The story then shifts to the present, following the life of Ajay, who returns to his village after several years and reunites with his friends. They plan an evening of drinking and revelry. Their conversation drifts to a past incident where one of them, in a drunken stupor, mistakenly professed love over the phone to his father instead of his girlfriend. That's one reason why you should not drink. As the drinking continues, one friend requests a horror story, prompting AJ to recount a terrifying local tale. He begins by explaining the existence of jinns, spiritual beings created by God who coexist with humans, but remain unseen unless they choose to reveal themselves. Unlike their fictionalized portrayals in popular culture, real jinns possess supernatural powers far beyond human capabilities, and often take the form of beasts. Though bound by divine laws prohibiting physical interactions with female humans, some rogue jinns defy these boundaries. When someone is lonely and vulnerable, they attack them, and thus trap them in the endless jinn loop. Same as the story of Alagini, the scene shifts focus to the outskirts of the village, where the Adalakshmi Fireworks and Crackers factory operates under the ownership of Adhiban, a respected businessman. One day, a worker informs Adhiban of his son Balachandran's arrival, carrying a letter from his mother. The letter reveals her elopement with another man, leaving both husband and son behind. Over time, Balachandran forgets his mother, but Adhiban, unable to overcome his sorrow, secretly engages in an illicit affair. In the village, where moral codes are rigid, remarriage while a spouse is alive is deemed a severe transgression. To avoid societal condemnation, Adhiban keeps his relationship hidden, living under constant secrecy and tension. Meanwhile, Balachandran grows up harboring deep resentment towards women, shaped by his mother's abandonment. Despite this, Adhiban arranges his marriage to a young woman named Alagini. Though Balachandran agrees to the union to appease his father, his heart remains cold and distant. No matter how much Alagini tries to win his affection, he remains emotionally detached, immersing himself in work at the factory. Unbeknownst to Balachandran, a jinn begins haunting the factory, observing him in silence and assessing his vulnerabilities. One evening, while alone in his office, he is startled by an eerie, ethereal voice. Initially dismissing it as fatigue-induced hallucination, he soon realizes that the voice persistently addresses him by name. Panic-stricken, he flees to his father's house, only to be met with contempt rather than reassurance. Feeling abandoned and overwhelmed, Balachandran leaves, his mind clouded with fear and uncertainty. The jinn, having made its presence known, continues to follow him, lurking in the shadows, watching his every move. Although Balachandran remains emotionally distant, Alagini's love for him never falters. Her unwavering devotion gradually softens the hardened walls of his heart. She is the only one who listens patiently as he recounts the terrifying experience at the factory, offering him comfort when others dismiss his fears. With her steadfast support, Balachandran finds the strength to face his demons. Encouraged by Alagini's affection, he returns to the factory, determined to confront whatever has haunted him. What was once a place of familiarity and pride now feels ominous under the weight of the jinn's presence. Still, he braces himself, prepared to stand his ground. Upon his return, the jinn appears once more, but this time, instead of instilling fear, it speaks of business. With uncanny knowledge of Adhiban's management, it offers insights into the factory's operations and suggests strategies to increase profits. The depth of its understanding is staggering, as if it has been observing the family business for decades. Then, the jinn promises immense wealth and prosperity in exchange for a single drop of Alagini's blood. This small offering, it claims, will unlock limitless fortune. Though hesitant, Balachandran allows himself to be tempted. That night, under the cover of darkness, he laces Alagini's wine with sedatives, ensuring she falls into a deep, unconscious sleep. Carefully, he extracts a single drop of her blood and stores it in a small cup. The following morning, following the jinn's instructions, Balachandran places the drop of blood on a factory table and closes his eyes. When he reopens them, nothing seems to have changed. However, the jinn reassures him that his business will soon flourish and that he will always be available when summoned. True to its word, the factory's production soars. Orders flood in, revenue multiplies, and within months, Balachandran's wealth grows exponentially. Riding on this success, he expands operations, establishing a second factory. Money pours in endlessly, and with it comes a shift in his demeanor. Prosperity breeds ambition, and ambition soon turns into insatiable greed. No longer content with his newfound riches, Balachandran craves more. The thought of the jinn and its supernatural aid lingers in his mind. If a single drop of blood has unlocked such fortune, what could another request yield? Tempted, he decides to summon the jinn once again. Under the cover of night, he returns to the factory, retracing the steps of their last meeting. As he calls out, the air around him grows frigid, and the jinn emerges from the shadows. Proud of his accomplishments, Balachandran boasts of his flourishing empire, 2 thriving factories and doubled production. He demands further assistance, eager to amass even greater wealth. Assuming the cost will once again be a drop of Alagini's blood, he is unprepared for the jinn's new demand. This time, the price is different. The jinn desires to break the sacred boundary between its kind and humanity. He wants to kiss Alagini. The weight of the request is undeniable. This is no mere exchange, but a transgression of divine law. Realizing the full implications, Balachandran erupts in fury. Slamming his fist against the table, he rises abruptly, his rage eclipsing any lingering thoughts of wealth. The jinn reminds Balachandran that everything he has gained is through its power, a power that can be just as easily revoked. Yet even with the threat of losing it all, Balachandran refuses to sacrifice his wife's dignity. Standing firm in his decision, the consequences of his defiance are swift. The next day, authorities shut down his factory, citing safety violations. Before he can resolve the issue, a devastating flash flood destroys his inventory, wiping out months of effort and investment. His financial empire, built on supernatural aid, collapses just as quickly as it had risen. Desperate and defeated, Balachandran returns to the jinn, willing to beg for its favor. Once again, the jinn repeats its demand. But sensing his continued reluctance, he tells him to ask Alagini if she has ever met a man named Kailash. Curious but unsuspecting, Balachandran casually brings up the name in conversation. Alagini's reaction, though subtle, is revealing. She admits Kailash had been a neighbor and a childhood friend. They had fallen in love. But soon, she knew that he was not planning to marry her. Thus she had distanced herself. She insists their relationship had never crossed any boundaries. Balachandran relays her response to the jinn, but the entity dismisses her words as lies. To deepen his doubts, it conjures vivid illusions, false visions of Alagini and Kailash in intimate moments. The deception gnaws at him. Overcome with jealousy, Balachandran's reason fails him, and the love he once held for his wife twists into suspicion and rage. Consumed by thoughts of betrayal, he devises a plan fueled by malice. He invites Alagini to a dinner at his father's house, presenting it as a gesture of reconciliation. After the meal, he suggests they visit the factory together. Though she senses something unusual in his behavior, Alagini, longing for harmony, agrees. Upon reaching the factory, Balachandran leads her inside, before slipping away under the pretense of searching for something. Left alone in the dimly lit structure, Alagini soon feels an eerie presence. The jinn makes its move, tormenting her with chilling whispers and ominous sounds. As she attempts to find her husband, flames suddenly erupt around her, trapping her in a burning prison. Balachandran reappears, standing just beyond the fire's reach. His voice is cold as he interrogates her about Kailash. Terrified and confused, Alagini pleads her innocence, her eyes filled with desperation. Then, in a revelation that should have shattered his delusions, she confesses that she is carrying his child. The news strikes Balachandran like a lightning bolt, and doubt seeps into his mind. Has the jinn deceived him all along? Has he been manipulated by illusions and lies? As he stares at his trembling pregnant wife surrounded by supernatural flames, the horrifying truth dawns upon him. He has been played. But the realization comes too late. Sensing his wavering resolve, the jinn acts with ruthless speed. In an instant, it seizes Alagini, dragging her into the darkness. Her screams echo through the factory, then fade into silence, leaving Balachandran alone in the wreckage of his choices. Guilt-ridden and deranged, he flees to his father's house. In his fractured mind, he blames Adiban for forcing him into marriage with Alagini, believing it has led to this tragedy. Overcome with guilt-ridden rage, he attacks his father, strangling him to oblivion. As Balachandran stands over Adhiban's lifeless body, the full weight of his actions crashes down on him. His wife and unborn child are gone, claimed by a malevolent spirit he has foolishly trusted. His father lies lifeless by his own hands. Everything he had once held dear has been destroyed, all because of his choices. Just like the myth of Aalia. Just as Lord Indra's deceit led to Ahalia's unjust punishment, the jinn's cunning has orchestrated Alagini's doom. Both women suffered at the hands of men's jealousy and supernatural manipulation. But unlike Aalia, who is eventually redeemed, there will be no salvation for Alagini. In his final moment of clarity, Balachandran realizes the full extent of his irreversible mistakes. Overcome by guilt and despair, he takes his own, closing the cycle of destruction set in motion by the jinn. As Ajay finishes the tragic tale, his friends sit in stunned silence, the remnants of their drinks forgotten. In the dim light, Ajay's expression shifts. With a quiet intensity, he reveals that Balachandran's fate eerily mirrors something that has happened to him in recent times. Like Balachandran, Ajay had sought out supernatural forces in a moment of desperation. He too had invited a malevolent presence into his life, believing he could control its influence. And like Balachandran, he had lost everything that mattered to him as a result. The warning he had given earlier now holds an ominous truth. Desperation does lead to dangerous choices, and seeking help from the wrong source only invites destruction. Ajay reveals that the jinn did not perish with Balachandran and Alagini. It endured, waiting for new victims, preying on human frailty and turning these weaknesses into the foundation of inevitable ruin. As Ajay speaks, his friends become aware of subtle but unsettling changes in their surroundings. The darkness beyond their gathering thickens unnaturally, and faint unfamiliar sounds drift in from the village. A growing unease settles among them. One friend suggests they should leave, but Ajay's expression remains unchanged. Escape may no longer be possible. What had seemed like a mere story is revealed to be something more. The jinn has followed him here, drawn by the vulnerabilities of those who listen. Its pattern of temptation, deception, and destruction is set to repeat once more. As the group prepares to disperse, one of them catches the faint murmur of an unfamiliar voice offering wealth and success for a seemingly insignificant price. Another notices shadows shifting against the natural order of the night. Ajay stands motionless, his silence heavy with the weight of certainty. He knows the cycle has begun again.